Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Eric Brown of Monorail Digital Media, and I'm here with Bethany Freitas of Amaia Martini Bar, and we're just going to talk about what it's like to be a restaurant owner and basically the daily life, her story, and how she started this with her husband. So, Bethany, would you like to introduce yourself and just talk about how you started this whole concept and go from there?
My name's Bethany. I am born and raised from Hudson. My husband is too. We have two children, a 4-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, so very busy. And then our other baby would be the restaurant, which is about 4 years old as well, so a lot going on. Basically, it was just an idea that my husband actually had when we first met about 12 years ago. When we first met, he was in the process of buying the liquor license from Yours and Mine, which is what was previously at this location. Then at the last minute, when they went to sign paperwork, it just fell through. And so we went on with our life. I started working somewhere else. He was working somewhere else. And then about year before we got married, when we were engaged, the owner reapproached us and was like, it's just a lot of work, I'm ready to retire. And we're like, okay, we haven't thought about this for 5-6 years, and just decided this is something we always did want to do, so like, let's just do it. It's a sign.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you started a place in Hudson where you grew up. Like, what was that like? Did you have a lot of support or a lot of people saying like, oh, what are you doing?
Definitely a little bit of both. A lot of people were just excited for something new coming in, and just being born here and seeing how Hudson had transitioned from when I was little to being pretty much vacant when I was in high school and college, to then the resurgence, which is really exciting for us to be able to be a part of that. Something I'm very proud of, especially coming from here. And then, of course, you always had people being like, are you sure you know what you're doing? But obviously, it worked out, so.
So you had previous restaurant experience. Like, how did that play into actually starting something and saying, yeah, this is actually the right thing for us to do?
It was definitely, when you're in the restaurant business, whether it's the back of the house or the front of the house, it's very chaotic, but it's organized chaos, which is something that both me and my husband thrive on. I think if we don't have a ton of stuff on our plate, we just don't know what to do with ourselves.
Sure.
So it was something that we were eager to do. But yeah, it's definitely different from just maybe waitressing and bartending and DJing in an entertainment aspect versus doing all the behind the scenes stuff.
Sure.
That was a transition, yeah.
So the starting point, like, actually you did the remodeling of this, right? Like, that's huge. Like, most people don't even undertake starting a restaurant, and you went all in on this.
Yeah, so that was a huge thing. A lot of people were like, oh, why aren't you open yet? It took us over a year. We signed papers a month after we got married, and we found out we were pregnant. So the whole time we were remodeling. My brother-in-law was down here always working. My sister-in-law, all my family was just here. We had a brand new baby, and it took, probably like 14 months from start to finish with renovating, and then we finally opened, and my son was 6 months old. So a lot of work, but it was fun being able to do the decor yourself, and my husband's a perfectionist, so he made sure everything was perfect, which was nice.
That's great. And like, your Instagram bio is 3 words, right? It's wife, mother, entrepreneur.
Yes.
How do you balance all that? I mean, you can't be sleeping doing all this.
It's a lot of work, but like I said, I only really do well when I have a lot of stuff on my plate.
Okay.
I thrive off it. I love doing all those different roles in my life. I put 110% into each thing I'm doing, so that definitely helps. I would say maybe I stress out a little too much because I'm such a perfectionist, but at the same time, I have really high standards, and I hold myself accountable to that too.
Great.
I just love it, so it works.
And can you tell us about the name, actually? Like, where did that come from?
Yep. So Amaia is It's a Portuguese name. It's actually the Maya, which is a part of Santa Maria, which is an island in the Azores, which is halfway between Portugal, mainland Portugal, and the United States. My husband's family is from there. So if you were going to the village of the Maya, you would say Amaia. So then we just kind of put it together.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so how you could have gone many different routes in terms of a concept, and you landed on a martini bar where you actually serve food, which that's actually an important concept,
we
part
do
of it.
tapas, full-size entrees, desserts, charcuterie boards, everything. But I think our first thing, honestly, was the tapa aspect.
Okay.
We love going out, and to us, eating dinner is an experience. That to me is an entertainment value. So we love doing tapas because you go and you get to spend a long time eating your food, and you get to try a bunch of different stuff versus committing to one dish and being like, oh, maybe this isn't for me, and now you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
When you have tapas, you get to just try so many different things, which is really great.
That's awesome. So how about the marketing aspect of the business? You're very involved in the community. We actually met at an event a couple months ago. So I'd love to learn more about like how you've approach marketing, how you get your name out there, and actually I'm curious about day one when you open up the doors and hopefully people rushed in and were really excited about what you're doing.
So a big thing, definitely, just networking locally, just being in Hudson, people who you know. I would say that's still our number one way of getting customers in here is, my hairdresser told me about this place, or my kid goes to school with one of the owner's cousins, things like that. But we do market on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our own personal Facebooks. Our staff is always pushing everything, Snapchat, things like that. And then just being a part of all the local things that they have. So, which is Best Chef, Spirit of Hudson, the Food and Brew Fest is a great one, especially because you get a lot of people who wouldn't typically come in here to eat, and then they try your food and like, wow, this is so good. Because you do still have a lot of people who assume that we just do drinks versus food.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's something we are trying to rectify.
Okay. And what would you say, what keeps you up at night in terms of the business and running it?
I think it just depends. Every single day it's something different. There's always a new issue that will happen. You're always trying just to keep it new and fresh. So it depends on the season. If it's a new season, you're switching over the drinks. If it's a new 3 to 4 times a year, we switch our menu over almost completely. So that's like a lot of work and a lot of just ideas being bounced around, things like that. And then you have staffing issues that happen a lot just because that's the nature of the business.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so you actually just brought on a new chef, right?
Yeah, we did. Back at the end of April, Ian Hunter, and he is amazing. He's great to work with. He's just so inspired, which I love, and he is a perfectionist like me and has very high standards, which I love. So when he talks about things, he'll come up with some great idea, and then the next day he's like, no, it just wasn't what I wanted. If I'm gonna put my name on something, I had to tweak it. I just wasn't happy with that. And I love working with someone who has that type of passion and motivation.
So how did you end up finding someone, a chef that actually clicks with what you're trying to do here as far as the concept and making customers happy?
Honestly, it was just like kind of how the business almost fell into our lap. Like it was just, I think, the universe just putting the right person in. We went through a couple people, and you learn from that, and then kind of realize what you're specifically looking for, and you just have to keep the vibe out there that person's gonna come around. And one of our really good friends is really good friends with him and had just made a comment that we were looking for a chef. He came in, and it was within like 5 minutes. I was like, I want to hire this person.
That's great.
Yeah, it was just like an instant connection. Me and my husband were both like, this is what we've been lacking. And he just understood our vision, and he was young and fresh, and he just got it.
That's awesome. So the restaurant industry, and I think starting a restaurant seems like a romantic idea for many people.
Yes.
The reality of it is,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Time consuming, and it can definitely get you down. You have to stay optimistic. Definitely stick with it. gonna be hard, and some days don't go in your favor.
Yeah.
But you just can't give up.
And tell me, like, so your customers, you actually have regulars that come back, and what's that interaction like? As far as connecting with them, and not only just ensuring that you have good food and drinks, but there's something about what you've created here that actually gets people to come back.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's amazing is actually some of our good friends now are regulars. One of our really good friends, I remember meeting him the third night we were open.
Okay.
And the first time I ever waited on him, and then he came in every single weekend, and then you just form relationships with them. So you have couples who come in every Friday night, and they have a date night, and they form relationships with our waitresses, and they know our story. They know that we do have 2 young kids, that we're married, that we're always here, but then they'll see us bringing our kids from time to time.
Oh, great.
You just form these great relationships with them, and then they'll give you honest feedback too, which is nice.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
most people, especially if they have, whether it's a positive or negative experience, don't say anything, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing that's great, is that because we're here all the time, they do generally develop a relationship with you, what they feel like they would be doing you such a disservice if they just didn't tell you, which is nice. And I just always want to make it better and better. If you're not bettering yourself, you're just never going to progress. So I love hearing feedback, regardless if it's positive or negative.
That's really good. So for anyone who's considering starting their own restaurant, or even just getting into the industry, like, what words of advice would you have to just make sure that it is, they have a better chance for success?
You have to stick with it. It's, even if you open your doors and it's busy off the cuff, it's definitely a huge financial risk.
Sure.
You have to make sure that you are in a safe place. Like in our situation, we are the ones who got the loan. We did not have help from anyone.
Wow.
So because of that, we had 2 kids at one point, under a year and a half, 2 dogs, and we were living in my mother-in-law's basement because we weren't ready to buy a house.
Sure.
And yes, that kind of stinks, and you have to make sacrifices. In the long run, like, you have to see what the bigger picture is and stick with it. And it helps that my husband owns another company, so that you're not sitting there stressed about the financial burden of it, because you do have such overhead at the beginning. You need to make sure that you have such a good support system from outside friends and family.
That's great. Well, thank you. Really appreciate your time. Do you have any parting words that you want to tell the audience, or?
Not really. I mean, I would love for you guys to come in and try everything. We're going to have a new menu in a couple weeks, and then starting in October, we do start our new fall drinks. So we'll have our pumpkin martini. If you have any questions, you can message us on Facebook. Check out our Facebook. We always are posting new pictures, and then our Instagram account as well.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for your time. It was great.
Thank you.